For introductions, I'll kick it off. My name is Elise Rudolph. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Online Admissions and Recruitment. And I'll hand it over to my colleague, Stephanie. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. I'm Stephanie Nguyen, and my pronouns are she, her as well. I'm the Online Education Recruitment Manager, and we make up the admissions team. So our goal here is to support you in the admissions process, but also be able to provide you with information on our program. So if you ever have any questions, we are usually your first stop, and we'll link our email in the chat, but we're happy to have you here.
Absolutely. And so, as part of our advanced GPA overview, we're going to begin by talking about the purpose of your advanced GPA. So, why do we ask for this as part of the application? How is it used? We'll go over the instructions on how to calculate your advanced GPA. We know it can be a little tricky, and that based on, your specific educational pathway, you might have some questions around that. So we're hoping we can get those answered for you. And then we'll actually walk through the worksheet. So this is the actual worksheet that we recommend everyone use and that the Office of Graduate Admissions at UC Berkeley uses to calculate these advanced GPAs. So we'll take a look at that together. And then again, we'll have some tips and tricks that we'll leave you with, and we'll take questions at the end. All right, so what's the purpose of your advanced GPA? Why do we ask for this sort of complicated calculation? So essentially we'll start with defining it. The advanced GPA is looking at your GPA from all coursework you took after your first 2 years of college as part of your bachelor's degree. So if you went straight to a 4-year university and it took you exactly 4 years to graduate, we would be looking at your last 2 years of coursework. If you did, a few years of community college and then transferred, maybe 3 years of community college and then 2 years at a 4-year institution. In that case, we'd be looking at 1 year of your community college transcripts and 2 years of your bachelor's degree transcript. So, it can look a little different for most folks, but essentially it's everything after your first 2 years. And we do that because looking at your later years of undergraduate tends to be a little more favorable than your first 2 years. We understand those first 2 years are a transition period. Folks are learning study skills. You might be balancing other outside responsibilities. It's an adjustment. And so by looking at your later 2 years, we feel that that's a more accurate reflection most of the time when we're considering your academic ability. So how is this information used? So the university, the school of UC Berkeley, they require a minimum GPA of a 3.0. So that's a standard set by UC Berkeley. It's not specific to our program. But, our program, along with every other graduate program at UC Berkeley, conducts holistic reviews. So that means, this 3.0 GPA requirement, it's not the end all be all of the application process. We're going to do a holistic look at your work experience, all of your academic achievements, professional journey, anything going on outside of the classroom that may have impacted your academic journey. Your life experiences, things like that. We're going to take all of that into consideration. So don't stress too much around this specific piece. But essentially, why we request the advanced GPA is because UC Berkeley has this 3.0 advanced GPA requirement. And so we need to understand where every applicant falls in regard to meeting that requirement. So, some folks meet and exceed that. Some folks are not quite meeting that. And if you're not meeting that, we just want to look at, the rest of your application to understand where there may be other evidence for academic ability. And again, we can clarify any questions, but hopefully that helps give some context as to why we're asking this and how it's being used. All right, so we recommend that everyone on the call actually take a minute to download the worksheet. If you haven't already done so, now's a great time. If you have it, you can look at it while we're going through this together. But this is the tool that UC Berkeley uses to calculate your advanced GPA. And so it's definitely the tool that we encourage you to use when you're calculating your own advanced GPA, because essentially we'll we're going to compare what you enter in your application to the GPA that this sheet produces. So ideally they should match. And we're going to actually take a minute to go through this all together, but it's great to have this pulled up, while we're going through that, and you can kind of evaluate it. All right, so hopefully everyone has the sheet pulled up. So in terms of how to use this sheet, um, as I mentioned before, this sheet already contains formulas used by the graduate division to calculate your GPA. So you shouldn't need to, do enter any Excel formulas or do any calculations. The sheet should do that all for you. And we encourage you not to deviate from the calculations that are entered in this sheet, because that's what we're going to be using on the academic side. And then if you have a combination of semester or quarter units, that's totally normal, but we do need to make sure all quarter units get converted to semester units, and we'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But you want to make sure that everything you're entering on this sheet has been converted into semester units. And you can use the formula below to do a conversion. 4 quarter units is equal to 2.67 semester units. So if you want to, do some quick math and make those conversions, we encourage you can do that now, or if you're calculating this on your own, you'll want to keep that formula in mind. And then if all of your units are already in semester units, you don't need to convert anything, but if you need it, you may need to reference the GPA unit scale that we have below. So you'll see in a moment, but there's a place to enter, the actual grade point units. And so this is a good scale if your transcript only shows a letter grade and it doesn't actually show that grade point average correlation. All right, and I'll hand things over to Stephanie to kind of dig into how to reflect on your transcript.
Thank you. So assessing your transcripts, it may be kind of overwhelming to say, like, what do I need? So the first thing that we recommend is before you start your calculation worksheet, it's really important that you ensure that you have all of your transcripts from every attended college. And again, this is specific to undergraduate or your bachelor's only. And you want to incorporate this by placing them in chronological order by the years attended to determine where you'll start in the units. And a great way for you to check this is the sample here. So we always ask that a transcript will have your institution name, all the things that you see here on the right. So your name, degree, the conferred date, et cetera, et cetera. If you are a current undergraduate student, though, you may not have a conferred date, meaning that you are still enrolled in an undergraduate program. So we ask that you have the most up-to-date coursework in your transcript. So just be sure that you will have that provided in your application. But your transcripts should include your name here. You'll see it all listed, as I mentioned. If it's missing, then we would suggest obtaining an official copy. But usually in the transcripts, unofficial copies are okay and will have all the necessary information needed. So moving forward in the overview of the instructions, again, before you calculate your advanced GPA, check, does your conferred transcript include coursework from other institutions? We cannot properly calculate an advanced GPA if you do not have an individual copy. So this would include community college. If you studied abroad at a different university, we would need that individual transcript from that school as well. And why is this important? Well, this is actually important because details from other institutions may not always accurately convert or transfer over to your conferred transcript. So having each transcript really allows for an accurate calculation. And a best way to look at that is look at your conferred transcript. Does that include any coursework that was applied prior to entering that school? It usually shows right at the very top of your coursework. So as you can see in this space, it says Golden West College. So that means that this student attended another program before, or another college before entering the school here. So that's very important. Again, I cannot emphasize how important that is. That's one of the first things that we check. So be sure to check that as well. And as you prepare your calculations, there's a few things that you would want to do to ensure that you are able to properly assess this. Collect an individual transcript from all undergraduate programs you've attended. So as I mentioned, community college, study abroad programs, if you've attended multiple schools, we will ask for that transcript. You'll also want to organize your transcripts by academic term and year of enrollment. So, for example, fall of 2009, the next school that you've attended, maybe it starts at fall of 2012. So make sure that everything is listed in chronological order. So that way we can follow along where you will pinpoint your calculation. You'll locate, and then also if you attended institutions where a term may include winter, just recognize that not all schools, as Elise mentioned, follow the same system. Some are semester-based, some are quarters. And the way to best determine that is if you see winter, that means that you likely attended a quarter system program. You'll locate where your academic coursework begins by the first college course you took. So you'll be able to see that that's the first transcript that you probably want to look at. Your advanced GPA calculation will begin after the first 2 years of college up until the conferral date of your bachelor's degree. So a common question that we get is, do I include my graduate program or do I include a course that I've taken after completing and earning my bachelor's? No, you will only include any coursework that was completed to earn your bachelor's degree. And this would be your advanced GPA calculation would also begin after the first 2 years if you consistently enrolled in a minimum of 9 or more units each term. So if I were to look at a transcript and I see that, this looks like the student has consistently been enrolled in more than 9 units, then I would account for that 2-year mark into the program. But if you notice that maybe you've had an uneven academic pathway where you've taken a lot of breaks, or maybe a semester it was all W's and it's just a little inconsistent when you think about your starting point, that's okay. The best recommendation that we have for you is to include any coursework to locate the first 60 units that you've earned, and you'll start there. So that way it can be pretty leveled with this alternative option. So we'll have some examples there. So calculating your GPA, the fun part, what you'll do here is this record here shows that a student didn't really have too many programs. They just attended one school. So it's pretty straightforward. Their beginning of their undergraduate begins in fall of 2013. It shows that they were enrolled in more than 9 units consistently. So the first thing I will do is just add 2 years into this, which would lead me to fall of 2015. And this is where I would include any of this coursework from fall of 2015 up until I earned my bachelor's degree award into that advanced GPA calculation. So again, there's no inconsistencies. They were a consistent full-time student, only attended one school. Then you add 2 years from your beginning record, which will lead you 2 years into the program. So if you have a academic record where you have to convert units, this topic here will shed more light on that. So again, this next section, we will talk about what you need to do if you need to convert your GPA, or what to do if you've attended more than one school, and how you would calculate that, okay? So in this case here, let's say that this applicant has attended more than one institution. The first thing I looked at was the beginning of the undergraduate record. I noticed that this is where they started at their primary institution, and I have to look to see, what year that is, and that's fall of 2014. But another thing I want to check is, do they have transfer credits in that program? And they do. So usually the starting point to check is in this area here. It will tell you a lot about what you need. And it shows that the student actually has completed transfer credits from another institution, and they did it at Golden West College. So that means a few things here. That means I need a transcript for this college. And that means that I need to check what year I took any of those additional coursework, because I might need to include it in my advanced GPA calculation. So it's the same process. We're not going to, step away from this process. We're going to use this this option here after the first 2 years of college, because they were a full-time student. So the second thing that we'll want to do is take a look at the term or year of the units closest to the 60 units after the first 2 years beginning of your academic record. So we noticed that their coursework began in fall of 2014. And remember, I said add 2 years into that. So if you add 2 to 2014, that will take you to year 2016, which is why I've landed here. So that means any coursework from this point on, I would have to include in my calculation worksheet. So that's step 3 there. Input any coursework that falls within the range of step 2 to the conferred date into your worksheet. So in this example, that means it's fall 2016 until, let's see, that last course, it's spring of 2019. So we're going to include all the coursework from there. And the nice thing about the advanced GPA, as Elise mentioned, it's kind of like a plug and play. You just take these courses, you plug it into the worksheet, and it does the job for you. So in this example here, you're going to see that I took all the coursework from fall of 2016. I took all the classes, I plugged in the course here. I took the grade from here and the units. And this part is all automated, so you don't even have to worry about that. When you do this here, this calculates and auto calculates for you. And I like to keep things in chronological order, so then that way I can ensure that if I'm missing anything, if I need to go back and make any adjustments, everything is in order. So I've plugged it all here. And then as you can see, I included the coursework from my community college. I've taken coursework at this program here, and it shows that it was in spring 2019. And because that falls in the range until I earned my bachelor's, that means it's going into this worksheet here. So I'm going to emphasize chronologically set up your transcripts. Make sure that you have an individual copy from all of your colleges attended, and place them into this worksheet here. And that's how you would calculate more than one transcript. So, we don't expect for you to, do this all the time. So if you run into any issues, just get started with this, and then we can take a look at, your progression with this and give any pointers as necessary. And I'm going to pass this back to Elise to talk a little bit more about the conversion chart.
Great. Yeah, so we mentioned this previously, but we do ask that all of your units be transferred into or converted into semester units. And the reason being that quarter units and semester units aren't the same. They're not equal. And we want to make sure that we're calculating your GPA accurately. So it's really important that we get everything converted into one unit of measure. As Stephanie mentioned, you can tell if you were in a quarter unit system because you would have fall, winter, and spring terms, and then sometimes, summer as well. But that winter term is really going to be the tell. And then a semester system school would just primarily have fall and spring, and then if you took summer classes. Now, if you attended both quarter and semester schools, Stephanie kind of talked already about, how to use two different transcripts. But again, you're just going to want to make sure that all those quarter unit semester or, those terms that had quarter units get converted into semester units. And then we have a scale here on the right that you can use. So you'll see 1 quarter unit is the equivalent of 0.67 semester units. Or, I think often quarter schools, they have 4-unit classes. So if you took two 4 quarter unit classes in a quarter, and so if, your winter quarter you took 8 units, that would be the equivalent of 5.33 semester units. So you'll just want to make sure you do that conversion for all of those courses. Yeah, and here's an example actually of how you can do that. There's different ways that folks do it. You can, do some quick Excel equations in here, or you can do the math separately, but you just want to go in and enter the actual units in semester units. So in this case, that first class on the line was I guess a 1 quarter unit class. So it's going to be the equivalent of 0.67 units. And then you can see as Stephanie mentioned before, those 2 columns on the right, grade credits and grade points, those will do the math for you. So you don't need to worry too much about that. Awesome. So this really wraps up our formal presentation, but we want to leave you with some key tips to take with you. The easiest way to do your GPA calculation is to have all your materials ready in advance. So make sure that you have requested all of your unofficial transcripts. As Stephanie mentioned, we need transcripts from every institution you've attended. You have to submit those as part of your application anyway, so make sure you have them in front of you. The study abroad semester, if you did that, any community college work that you did, any summer courses, we need transcripts from all of those institutions. And then we recommend that you organize them chronologically. So you can print them and lay them out in front of you, or just make sure that you have them, pulled up on your computer in chronological order. And then, make sure you have the GPA worksheet ready as well. If you happen to have a 2-screen setup, I recommend, have your transcripts on one side and have your GPA worksheet on the other, or you can print it if you prefer to work that way. But it's good to have everything in front of you, and again, in chronological order. And then you can just reference your transcript and enter it directly into the advanced GPA worksheet. We've linked that worksheet again if you need it. And then, as Stephanie mentioned as well, we are here to support you and answer any questions that you might have. So definitely let us know. One other thing is, I would say give this your very best effort. And if it's not, if it's not 100% correct, like you added an extra class or you missed an extra class, like we're going to do a check of this after you submit it. And so we can let you know if there's an error that needs to be corrected, but give this, your very best effort, and, we won't not consider you or not admit you or make any major decisions because there's a small error in this worksheet. So I would say don't get too nervous about it. Just give it your best effort, and we'll catch any mistakes after you've submitted as well.
As we close out, there are important dates to keep in mind. So spring 2026 will close on August 3rd, so coming up in a few days. And if you have any questions at all, we just want to strongly emphasize that we are here to support. We are a team that is so excited that you're considering our program, and any way, shape, or form that we can provide any, final opportunities to advise, we are definitely on it. So reach out to send us an email, and we hope to see your application. And thank you for sticking around with this presentation.